Hi, I'm Willie, and today we're going to talk about my Thai Constellation Monstera. I dreamed about this plant, I thought about this plant, I wanted this plant so bad, and when I look at the entire zeitgeist of my plant collecting for at least the last 5 years, this plant was probably number one. And specifically this example of this plant, aka the one that I own, has been like a real journey, and not in that cliche way that I'm always trying to shoehorn that in, but like legitimately. There's been a lot of good and there's been a lot of bad, and it's done the worst thing ever. At times this plant has really bored me, and so I just want to talk about that because now that I'm looking at it, I don't remember why I lost faith. It looks really cool and it looks really nice. So this plant had a lot of hype around it. It's kind of the most overdone plant at this point. Like, I see these everywhere. I even see these at like the grocery store for really not very much money. And before, it was like the antithesis. These were the most status, the most rare, lauded, kind of brag-worthy, and I'm describing a lot. There's a lot of complex feelings about access, a rarity, a very dynamic market, and all of those things that I don't know about you, but I don't really care about. Because when I think about it, it was the emotional experience. And at some point it crept in, and it was the greatest example of all time of having an aesthetic indoor plant collection. Like, this was the crown jewel. I think laying out all of that, it's kind of a lot of baggage, but it does give me some clues. None of this stuff is about what it actually is. Do you feel this way? Have you felt this way? Have you felt this way about buying something expensive? I guess it doesn't even have to be a plant. I think I've overthought it again, which is not that surprising. I think the reason I wanted this is because I couldn't have it. I couldn't find it and I couldn't afford it. Now looking at it, I don't know why I took my glasses off. I'm blind as a bat this close up. It's very pretty. Like, I can see why this became so popular. This specific Thai Constellation has a lot of cream variegation as opposed to the really bright white. And when I got it, like the creme brulee variety of these, I wasn't even aware of them being a thing. Yeah, they've evolved even now. There's so many cross sections of Thai Constellation Monsteras. Whispers is fuss potting, so she's gonna have to be in the video. I like this better than a Monstera elbow, simply for the fact that at some point it was told to me that it was more stable. It wouldn't revert and it wouldn't get those ghost leaves. It was supposed to be the sure bet for that beautiful star shine of a status variegation. And I have to say it's pretty much held up, and I have decent light in here. There's no real supplementary light on this besides what I'm filming this in, and it's kept pushing out nicely variegated leaves. And there's a one in the back here that's just coming out now that has a giant pop of the cream. Truly, I think I just wanted to post a whole bunch of pictures on social media and then also make videos about this at the time, because these were just the end of everything. They were so good. It was a real easy way to get a lot of clicks, and it's no shock, but I do have a lot of plants. And one thing that this plant has taught me is that what you're buying is this idea of what you'll have in a couple of years, because they have to grow in, they have to acclimate. There's a lot of ups and downs. And so it's very important to find something that's big enough that it isn't that fragile, because it has run into some issues. And we'll talk about those too. When it comes to advice, I have very little, except for buy one that's big enough that it won't die if you make one mistake, because compared to my regular Monstera, this is really easy to make mistakes with. I want to talk about the reality, because that seems cathartic, because I can get it off my chest and just like say the things I want to say about this. You know how like when anything happens in life is you'll be going about and it seems like a struggle and you hate it, and then like things go wrong and you have to like wring your hands and say that it was the worst thing ever. Well, I've done that, and then now I'm at this point with this plant where I'm looking at it and I don't remember why I didn't like it, and it's in a stable place, and I just did a bunch of maintenance to it, and it looks way bigger than it did when I bought it after I looked back on the video, and I don't even know what I'm talking about. But now I like it again. And this is the reality. When I got this plant and moved it in, it was just like, oh, the velvet ropes were parting. I suddenly had this new bounce in my step. I had so much confidence. I made one of my best performing videos about it, and the best part was I got it at Walmart, which that doesn't add up, but it did add up. And so far I have been very happy with my exotic plants from Walmart. I'm not that happy about admitting, but I'll do what I have to get a plant for a good... I'm all about the hustle. It was pretty much instantly rewarding when I got home. It pushed out a bunch of leaves. It had been really well fertilized. They each have a new leaf pushing out. It looks like it's very stable. The one that I got was just off the truck, so it hadn't been over or underwatered. There's some probability in any of these stores that these things are gonna kind of languish. And it didn't. So when I got home and I made all those leaves, I was under this impression that, wow, like my care is enough to make this be a gigantic statement plant in like 3 weeks, but that wasn't the case. And I think I inherited a little bit of tissue culture magic, some good fertilizing, and a lot of greenhouse light that had kind of jump-started this into a renaissance of leaves. And after the first few came in, then it became a different story. So, did it live up to the fantasy? And to answer that, I'll have to quote Megan and say, you have to define the parameters. One thing that really made me back away from this slowly and try and withdraw my accountability is that it had a lot of issues. They started at that perfect moment after you think that there's some confidence there. Like I thought I had this unlocked. I thought it was going great. Let's see. I actually wrote these things down. The worst thing that befell this plant, and I don't want it to ever befall your Thai Constellation, is it got a fungal issue. This plant was very close to being ravaged by rust fungus. In my whole tenure of keeping houseplants, I've never had a plant get rust fungus. And I have combed the internet, which is both my disillusionment and my salvation when it comes to plant problems. It seems like that's not that uncommon, and it's real ugly. The scars last forever. It's not that flattering to admit, but I'm kind of a perfectionist, so I don't like that, and I didn't like that when it started happening. So all this weird brown energy on the bottom side of the leaves I kept thinking was sunburn, and I was giving it too much light, and then I was restricting more and more light. Thank goodness someone gave me a very wise comment that it was most likely rust fungus, and then I had to treat it, and that was... I don't even want to talk about that. You don't want to hear about that. It was a lot of spraying. It was a lot of using copper fungicide and staying on top of it. Another thing is these really like to be in small pots. Like they don't like a whole lot of extra soil. I knew that, and I took the advice when I first got this beauty. And I had it in two kind of smaller pots, and this is actually 2 plants, and then my real foil came when I put them all together in a pot that was too big. Gonna get an audible sigh. I think that may have increased the moisture altogether, and maybe that had something to do with the rust fungus. I know one thing that it did have an effect on, and that was overwatering. I'm shocked by how little water this plant actually wants in my house. And also, I have a pretty chunky soil that I use for everything. And that soil was not chunky enough. That's something I recently took care of with this, is I made a new mix and put it in here, and it's been going way better.
Doesn't that look so nice?
Also, I down potted it at one point, and that kind of stopped the visible signs of overwatering, which are dark brown spots. I luckily haven't had a huge amount of issues with root rot. I mean, when I repotted this the other day, there was just a few kind of crappy roots, but nothing to the extent of what I was afraid was hiding in there. And no weird smells and nothing that gross. I made a short video about it.
Because I care. I got fancy orchid bark. I got Fox Farms Ocean Forest. My hair looks terrible because I've been working in my yard, so I'm gonna put on a hat. 2 of these. Attempt to open this and not have like a giant mess. Let's see. Oh my god! I saved it. It's 1 cup.
I also had just a little bit of leca balls.
And now what I've been waiting for, maybe you've been waiting for, is we're gonna see what condition this plant's actually in. And I think it's doing better because it's pushed out a new leaf. Okay. I'm gonna get some close up here.
Clean, healthy roots. This thing is getting big. There are some like gross roots in here. So that's done.
Got this nicely attached now.
And now we wait. It was basically 2 parts of this premium orchid bark, which is the bark and large perlite and charcoal chips, and then a little bit of leca balls, and then 1 part of fast draining, nutrient rich soil. And I don't know for sure, but I think I may have figured this out. And then I say that, and then the next time I talk to you, it'll have all died, but you know, I don't think so. I think it's gonna make it. I think we're there. I've never thought of giving it away, but I have thought of throwing it out a lot of times, but I'm really glad that I didn't. And here we are, the gift that keeps giving. I think this plant's teed up for a win. I think it's gonna have a great summer. We're deep in spring now, and it's already pushed out one of the most beautiful leaves of its career. I am such a stage mom right now, but it's delivering and making me look good. So I love that. I'm also letting it be who it wants to be for the first. When I purchased these, they were $39.99 each. That seemed worth it because they brought a lot of joy to my life, and it's something that I really wanted to experience. I think it's always a real joy when you've dreamed about something and you've stared longingly down the barrel of online ideation and premium shopping experiences, and suddenly an item
or plant
or an experience is more accessible and democratized, and it feels like a win for the people. And the Thai Constellation, even with its fair share of challenges, it's a people's plant. It's like the chord of G. It's warm and it's inviting. And so saying all that is just leaning back to me saying that I think it's totally worth it. And I think it's kind of one of the best plants ever. And why did I ever doubt myself or this plant? Well, life. That's why. I really hope this plant is thriving now. I don't really know if it is. I think the same can be said for myself. It's still here. And it's still given the performance of a lifetime. Although it looks very expensive, it behaves a bit like a Victorian ghost. And that's just kind of pointing out that it's fragile. I feel like this plant confessional was very cathartic, so thanks for listening to me. I really appreciate it. I would love to know your thoughts about your Thai constellation. I know you have one. I just can feel that.
but
What do you think of it? How long have you had it? Has it lived up to the hype? Has it proven to be a pal and a confidant? Leave me a comment. I am
dying to know.
The world keeps turning. I'll see you next week. Take care of yourself and have a great weekend. You're the best. Okay, bye. Whispers hopes that all of your dreams and wishes come true. Okay, we're off.